Howdy guys, Jimmy Song here. In this video, I'm going to talk about something a little different. I'm going to talk about what it takes to become a successful programmer. Now, I've given this topic a lot of thought, and I'm hoping that this will help you if you are a programmer or want to become a programmer or are thinking about becoming a programmer. So a few things to think about, and I'm going to use this analogy sort of going back and forth. If you want to be a really good basketball player, there are certain skills that you're going to need to know, no matter what kind of basketball player you are, whether you're a point guard or a center or six man off the bench or a wing or whatever. You're going to need certain skills, right? Like no matter what, and they're universal to a lot of basketball players. In the same way, like programming is not just like one job, right? Like there's a lot of different kinds of programming jobs that are out there. Everything from modifying the Linux kernel to fixing some JavaScript on the front end to optimizing some DevOps role where you have to make a Docker container run more efficiently using Kubernetes or something. There's a lot of different kinds of roles that you can get in this environment, but there are certain things that are sort of common through all of them, and that's kind of what I want to cover. So like in basketball, I mean, no matter who you are, you're going to need to know how to dribble, right? Like this is the very basic stuff, and that means being able to learn, know a language of some kind. Usually it's something. It can be anything from like C to something more advanced, Rust or Go or Python or whatever. But you need to at least know one language so you have something that you can do with it. It gives you a lot of flexibility once you know a language to be able to do a variety of things. Another thing that you're going to need to know is kind of like in basketball, you need to know how to shoot the ball. You also need to know an editor and like command line stuff. And this comes up, no matter what kind of programming you're doing, you're going to need to debug stuff. You're going to need to make stuff work, and oftentimes that comes down to knowing a lot of the tools that you're using. And it could be like an old school editor like I use, like Emacs or Vim or something like that, or it could be a modern IDE. It depends on your environment. If you're like a game programmer or something, you're going to be in that environment. You're not going to really do programming in Emacs or Vim most of the time. You're going to be in that integrated development environment where you can see whether or not what you did worked and so on. But that's one area, and some sort of command line, some being comfortable on a Unix command line or even an MS-DOS command line. That's important. You need to be able to execute certain commands, do things with files, be able to connect to some network socket or something, or like telnet port or something like that. These are all just sort of skills that you're going to need as a programmer. Another one that is that's very important is defense, right? Like in basketball, you don't have just one side of the court where you need to dribble and shoot and do other stuff. You also need to think about the other side, and that means being able to think adversarially. And this is oftentimes something that a lot of programmers forget about. They much like basketball, they just like playing offense and forget about defense. Well, defense is just as important, actually oftentimes more important, and thinking adversarially and thinking about all the ways in which your code can go wrong is very, very important. Now, there's a couple things that you can do to make this a lot better for yourself. First, do regular code reviews or have your code reviewed. And usually people are not willing to review your code until you review theirs or something like that. It's a form of currency among programmers to read somebody else's code because, again, it tends to be kind of annoying to read code. It's a lot more fun to write it. The other thing that's very helpful is unit testing, and this is sort of like practicing, right? Like defending or something like that. And it's making sure that it handles these particular cases. And that's another habit that you should definitely get into. Anyway, these are just some of the things. Again, this is I tried to make it as universal as possible because there are so many different kind of development roles. But these are some of the things that you should think about as a programmer, and this is what can help you become a very good programmer. If this video is popular, I'm happy to do more of these and talk about the importance of each one in more detail if necessary. Anyway, hope that helps you. This song is done.